We've had TV measurement for 100 years.
Yes,
What's different about it?
You've had TV measurements for 100 years, yes. From your end, I'm sure I don't know the technical understanding or the way in which to word the Columbus, Georgia market, which we're in.
Right. RP plus.
Yes, there's the change, so you are familiar with it. That has.
That was back in 2018. It's been a while.
Yeah, well, it's.
Well, actually, we've made a couple.
You have made some
January was the
adjustments
most recent.
Yes, and so the January most recent one are, well, because we pulled the numbers and everybody's just curious as to what has happened with our. Yeah.
You'll see it right here.
Okay.
You'll see it right here. I don't think what's happened in Columbus is any different than what's happening nationally.
Yeah.
Not even a little
Well,
bit.
I don't think it is either because we're hearing it not just from our market, we're hearing it from others that are talking about an erosion in viewership in the numbers.
Yeah.
And just trying to get a sense of where that has gone.
Sure.
Yes, I know you've been around a very long time, but been in business over 20 plus years. But anytime I'm talking is about my money moving forward. Not so much what has already happened in the past.
Yeah.
So.
Are you with RBL or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, yeah, it's just been different. And so when you see ratings go from, morning ratings that are just down 3 to 4, it's
Yeah, it's happening in Atlanta, in New York, in LA, in Macon, everywhere. And we'll I'll get into that. I think it's an important ecosystem change that everybody has to pay attention to.
Yeah.
And I know it affects your bottom line. That's what's the most important thing right now.
I will say this because we're not here to bash on it. I think digital has also been a game changer for us. But it has helped us to value that viewer in a way that we can find that our revenue, like digital, is not so much tied to the number of people, but who those folks are.
Yeah.
And so basically that qualitative data is actually helping us to actually, still maintain our rates because, there's value there because we know more about who they are.
Yeah. No, I agree. The more we can learn about that audience, the better. It's gonna put you in a better position.
Because I know we talked about digital in a bigger way, but digital sales basically on a very small scale, but they're able to get the numbers because they know who they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like we might have an intimate crowd, so you guys are going to get all the learnings that everybody wished they got.
Oh.
That'll be a good thing. Are you guys all from Columbus?
No.
We are.
My husband and I started a Christian television network.
Okay.
And right now it's just streaming, though we just signed a couple contracts for some OTAs, so we're on local Amazon 5.
Okay.
We'll be on board Star, and we're looking at other places, but we're also going to be all over the air as well.
Are you in Atlanta or
We're in Atlanta.
throughout Georgia?
But our first 2 stations that we signed are in San Bernardino and Victorville, California.
Oh, okay.
And then we're looking to get a market here. We just got to find some people that have substations that we can at least to do it on. But
Yeah, gotcha.
Our major market right now is Amazon Fire, Roku, and Glory Stars.
Talk to PBS stations. They have lots of sub-channels.
We're trying to find what I can get to know them. Who knows that name of somebody?
You're not Trinity Broadcast, are you?
No.
That's like one
No,
of
we
the
actually
big
bought our own
favorites,
equipment.
right?
We have our own playout server. We actually are the whole thing. We're going directly into the broadcast tower.
Okay. Awesome. Well, this will be helpful. I mean, this is helpful for anybody that's in the broadcast or cable or any media field. So it's definitely, we'll touch both of you guys for sure.
Yeah.
Well, now, what do you guys do at RBL?
General sales manager.
Awesome. What's your name?
Olivia Payne.
Olivia. Justin LaPorte. Awesome. Okay. I used to rep the market, so I came in, back when, who was the GM? Otis Pickett.
Oh, wow, that was a minute ago.
Yeah. I had the market from like 07 till 11 or 12.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was actually in Germany at the time, but I started in the market.
Okay.
Yeah, I was there when you were there. Yeah, she was.
And I remember Mark Kirkland, who was at XTX.
Yeah.
Is he still in the market?
Mark is still in the market, but he's no longer in sales. He's actually the marketing director over at ABC.
Okay.
I hate to give people He should be. He should be.
No, I
But
know.
I know he's with that, he's with the ABC station.
Okay.
That's all on that.
Gotcha. Okay, great. Well, you know what? I'm gonna go. People come in. That's great. You guys will stop me anytime. I was gonna say I'll stop in between sections, but stop me anytime. Let's just have a conversation. Let's just chat. So, you know, the purpose of what we came in to talk about, understanding tomorrow's TV audience. None of us have a crystal ball. You can use as much algorithmic or anything you want to try to figure out, artificial intelligence to figure out what's going to happen in the future. Based on what thing happened last year, we're never going to know. We're never going to know. But I think what I have here is enough information to kind of tell you what's going on now that really is going to help you understand what TV will look like in the future. Because I think we've already come to a point where we know what it's going to look like. So one of the first things that I'll talk about is...
Sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
Are we gonna get the deck?
I think so.
Yeah.
We typically make these available. Right, you'll see some busy slides here, so
Okay.
you'll be able to spend some
I
time
don't want
with
to
it.
take pictures and I don't have to.
Yeah, no, you don't. You can if you want.
After,
Yes.
I'll get your info and then I'll get it to you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, we already have a PDF ready to go, so
Yeah.
we can
Sorry
easily
to
send it.
interrupt. Thank you.
No, it's okay. So before I talk about how media is being consumed, I kind of want to talk about, I think, how we got to today and what media consumption looks like. So, and the way that I'll start things off is at the very highest level, TV status. What do you have in your house? Do you have traditional cable or satellite? You know, which we at Nielsen call cable plus. So you'll start to see these words that we use that not everybody else uses. But that's just any home that is either wired cable like Comcast, Time Warner, Charter, or Dish Direct. The telco is Verizon, Fios. There's not as many of those out there, but that's one part of the TV universe. Then you got over the air, right? Homes that have, in the way that we define it, and this might sound strange, at least one TV set in the home has the capability to get an over the air signal for free, right? We go in and make sure they can get at least one broadcast channel. They might have other TVs that they use to stream and do other stuff. As long as they don't have cable or satellite, we call them an over-the-air home. And then we've got sort of the buzzword, which has actually already come into your market, broadband only, which we call BBO. And that is a home that does not have any of this. There's no OTA signals in the home. There's no cable or satellite. They just have a TV set and a broadband internet connection, and they can stream. Be helpful to you. Yeah. Now, that doesn't mean that they're the only ones that stream. In fact, far, far from it. All three of these household types stream and do all those non-linear, non-traditional things. So here's sort of a quick trend. 5 years, every October for the past 5 years. The top one is your cable plus. That's your old school kind of traditional cable satellite homes. It's been declining. It's declining faster. Purple is over the air. It's been growing, but it's kind of leveling off. And then BBO, that's what's growing the fastest. These broadband only homes that really only have the ability to stream content. And if you just think about a year ago in the US, there were 19 million broadband only homes. Now it's 32 million. That's almost 27% of TV households in the US. So more than 1 out of 4 homes are broadband only now. And that's a big, big number. We took a look at Atlanta specifically. In Atlanta, it's really no different in terms of the growth. BBO, which is that top sliver, is growing the fastest, 46%. Atlanta's gone from 500,000 to 700,000 homes in just a year. And it's very similar to national. But in Atlanta, it's a little bit different. Over the air is growing too. It's grown by 10% year over year, from 290,000 to 320,000. So some markets we're actually seeing a resurgence in these over the air homes. And again, cable and satellite going down in Atlanta. We took a look at all of the Georgia markets compared to national on the far left. So what's interesting about every single Georgia market, anywhere from Albany, Georgia to Atlanta, all the way down to Savannah, they all look pretty similar. They're not that different. So this is percentage of homes. So in Albany, Georgia, 66% of all the TV homes are cable or satellite, right? Traditional sort of linear cable or satellite homes. 10.6% are OTA or over the air, and then 23.4 are BBO. But every market looks pretty similar. There's Columbus, 61.6, 13.7, 24.7. All in a those are pretty similar to national. Every single Georgia market, though, over indexes, has more cable homes, satellite homes than the US does, which is kind of an interesting insight.
Do you have the information on how many of these homes are all three?
So you can't be.
No, not all three, at least the top one and the bottom. A cable one that has cable but also has streaming capability. That could be a lot of people, right?
That's a great question. It's a very good question. So we can look in our panel and determine of all these cable plus homes, how many have like a streaming TV set? Almost all of them. It's really.
That number's really the same as the top in some ways.
There's a designation we have. We call it a connected TV household. Mm-hmm. They have at least one smart TV or a Roku connected directly to the TV where they can stream. It's like 85% of all TV households.
So for a broadcast station like ours, we've always been very focused on that 61.6, right?
Yeah.
That is where we would go, the book would come out, we would open up the book and beeline it to that.
Yeah.
Is Nielsen, I mean, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I'm looking at this and it's like, I should be paying a lot of attention to the BBO. How much, it seems like
that's what's growing.
The attention should be not so focused on that stratosphere that's right there in front of me, that light over there.
Yeah.
It just, that I'm seeing that.
Yeah, and again, I can, because we're a small crowd, what I can do is I can get you sort of a longer trend for just Columbus.
Yeah.
I can send you some follow-up so you can see how much is BBO growing, how much is over the air growing. Is it that astronomical 50% a year that we're seeing, like in Atlanta and nationally? Or is it maybe it's already reached sort of a peak, which in some markets we are seeing slow growth. And we're seeing more over-the-air homes coming in. So I think that would be the first thing I'd want to know for you is this number just like doubling every year, or is it sort of starting to slow?
Yeah.
And I can provide information for you.
That would be.
That, at least as a researcher, that's what I would want to know. I'd want to know where's the growth curve, and then I would decide how much attention I want to pay to it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. But yeah, either way, even if it hasn't grown that much, it's still a quarter of all the homes.
It's huge.
That's huge. It's really big.
Follow-up kind of question.
Yeah, sure.
Because we're in the market with the television, that's specific market, but as an OT up, that's it, over the top, like how we are streaming, at least primarily right now. Our market is kind of national, but it's focused when we go into the over-the-air channels. But what's your data in terms of what's happening with OTT across the board? Because if you're an OTT provider, it means anybody can access you from anywhere. Well, primarily just like you guys can get access from anywhere too, but your focus is local or your regional, correct?
Well, for you, think of it this way. It's almost 100% of homes have internet, which means almost 100% of homes can watch some kind of OTT platform, service or specific, brand or something like that. We almost see no homes that don't have internet anymore, and that even includes zero TV homes, because we have information, which, it's a small sliver of the U.S. It's like 2 or 3% of the U.S. don't have any TVs. They just use laptops, tablets, and smartphones. But I think my next few slides will give you a little bit more on that, and will help all of you understand, again, the ecosystem better. So, again, I haven't even gotten into what viewing looks like. I'm still just talking about like what's inside the homes, and that's where I'll continue here. So this is back to just looking at national, and I have a slide for this in Atlanta. I can't do it for Columbus because of sample size, but this is where I would use like Scarborough or qualitative to understand the nitty-gritty, right? Mm-hmm. But this will still give you a good idea. What I love about Georgia, it looks so much like national, and they're so similar that you could look at it in Atlanta, and I'll bet it's not that different from Columbus. So anyway, if you think about types of things connected to the TV set, and look at a trend over time, this is the previous 5 Octobers. So first, I'm showing kind of the dinosaurs. DVD players, DVRs, video game consoles. Even video game consoles, which is interesting, is in decline. You know, Xboxes and PlayStation 5s. These are what people used to use all the time. And now, just like the VCR, they're slowly getting to the point where they're just not as available in homes. Now, the DVR one is mostly driven by so many fewer cable and satellite homes. I don't think that's because people don't like the DVR. I think people still get it if they're buying the traditional service. But, so you see where the decline sort of key indicators are, and then you look at things that are growing exponentially. So internet-connected device is synonymous with I have at least one Roku that's connected to a TV set, an Amazon Fire Stick, an Apple TV, any physical device that you connect to your TV set so you can stream content. And then smart TV is sort of the other piece of that that's growing just exponentially. I mean, 20 points of growth in 5 years, 30 points of growth in 5 years. That's a lot. And I mentioned that number earlier, our connected TV homes. You put those two together, you had at least one of each of these, and it's like 85% of the country. And that's pretty amazing. But none of this means anything unless you figure out how many people have services to stream, right? So SVOD, that's subscription video on demand. That's Netflix, Hulu, not Hulu with live TV, just Hulu with the dynamic ads or no ads, right? Amazon Prime, Hulu, Netflix, Disney Plus. Those are the major players for subscription video on demand. 8 out of 10 homes have it. vMVPDs, so those are Sling TV, AT&T TV Now, YouTube TV, Hulu with live TV. It's small still, but you know, more than 10% of homes have a virtual provider, and it's mostly broadband-only homes that have it. If you're a cable or satellite, you don't need it. I'm sorry.
Roku has like TV now, just started.
Well, but it would be through one of those services. So like Roku is the platform to get to it, right?
Yeah.
Now I will say, like Amazon, I have all Amazon products, and I have Fire Sticks on all my TVs. I have the same thing where I can go to like the live area, and then it jumps me to whatever app has live. Eventually, that might actually be considered its own virtual service. But these are, again, this is where the growth is. And if you look at Atlanta, kind of watch closely when I switch, everything's higher. Everything's higher in Atlanta. Same story though, right? These kind of dinosaurs are declining. The connected devices, 62 versus I think 60 for national, 70 versus 60 something for national. SVOD 85 versus 80 for national. The MVP 16 versus 11 for national. So Atlanta over-indexes for all of these services and devices to the TV sets. And it's interesting. Again, this is what I would say this is a proxy for Columbus and other smaller markets in Georgia. So now I'll talk about actually what people do with all of these things available to them. So this comes from our total audience report. This is second quarter of 2021. That's our most recent data. This is like the entire complete pie of things you can do that is media consumption. Whether it's TV, radio, on my smartphone, on my tablet, on my computer, it's everything. And the average adult spends almost 10 hours per day on some screen, right? And this isn't just video and radio, this is also email and search and social media. It's everything you do on these devices here. But when you start to break it down, live TV is still the biggest piece for now. 2 hours and 52 minutes per day per adult. It's a lot. A lot of that's driven by heavy users, right? Then you've got time shifted TV, which is it's still linear TV. It's still, I recorded a show, I'm watching it, on a broadcast station or a cable network. You've got radio. The green is also TV, but it's like, this is where most of the streaming is. I'm using my video game console, I'm using my DVD player, I'm using one of those connected devices. That's what the biggest slice is. It's an hour of internet connected device usage. So on a Roku, on any one of those connected device platforms. And then the last three are your sort of personal device consumption. You got internet internet on a computer, app web on a smartphone, which is the big piece, 2 hours and 18 minutes. And then you've got app web on a tablet. At some point, that orange is going to overtake TV. I don't know when, but I think it will. As phones get bigger and more functional.
Yeah.
Even in broadcast, when I say something like this, it doesn't scare me. It makes me look at opportunity. And that's where I'm trying to find here in terms of broadcast television, right? Because how do we monetize what people are seeing in another space?
Yeah.
That's where, and from the numbers that we're seeing, it just, in the numbers that you all are providing us, that's sort of where my brain goes. It's like,
Yeah.
I just want to be able to like I monetize television. I want to monetize the fact that in Prime, you can see my local news,
Yeah.
and you can see the advertisers running it.
Yeah.
I just don't, I don't know how I get that
Mhm.
potential audience.
So
a value
this,
for it.
the next transition is an important transition for you from this slide to the next slide. Because this, if I'm an advertiser and I'm looking at this, well, I should be spending money in every single platform there is because I want to reach the broadest audience I can to buy my goods, right? Let's remember that what's in the yellow and the orange and the red is somebody with the, I won't say everybody's got bad attention span, but you're looking at something and you're clicking to the next thing, and you're clicking to the next thing, you're clicking to the next thing, maybe you read an email for a few seconds, and you click to the next thing. What's your recall? What happens when you see an ad there? Not much. You definitely don't remember it as well. So an advertiser sees this initially and they're like, oh, I gotta spread out my money. But then if you think about it, and the other big thing, this is where watch the transition. Again, that's everything on a smartphone and tablet and computer, which there's some video in there. How much of that is video? This is just video. So now you look at the computer, smartphone, and tablet, video is tiny compared to TV. Okay, TV is still the medium where you are going to get somebody's attention, you're going to get more time spent, you're going to get a much, much bigger part of the video pie, right? So now you look at the video pie, and this is a 3-year trend. So this is Q2 19, Q2 20, Q2 21. You can see the COVID impact right in the middle. You know, total time spent watching any video went from 5 hours and 23 minutes to 5:57. It was a huge change because we weren't used to that. We were used to ratings and TV usage going down. And 21 is not that far off of 19. Really, the comparable is 19 and 21. Those are more, I guess, normal in terms of comparing time. But I will say, live and time-shifted TV has gone down significantly. And again, where we see it made up is in that green sliver, which is really where a lot of that streaming is happening on the TV set. But and the funny thing about smartphone and tablet, it's really consistent. It's like 5 to 15 minutes per year, or every year is what we're seeing is sort of the average time spent. So it is really a small piece when it comes to video, which I think is the richest advertising medium there is. So that's an important one, because when your advertisers say, no, I need to be online, I need to be shown this.
That makes a lot of sense.
This is kind of an interesting one. This actually takes us back to Q1 of 21. That's when we had the latest data for all of this. If you think about reach and time spent, radio is, and has for a long time been the best reach medium. 87% of adults are reached by radio on average. Smartphone, talk about overtaking, that's going to overtake radio at some point. It's 85% of adults are reached by a smartphone in the average quarter. TV's third, connected devices, which is sort of not linear TV, again, that's mostly streaming. Fourth, internet on a computer, app, web, and a tablet. Now, when you look at time spent, though, again, TV is the time spent medium, 32 hours, 32 minutes and 21 seconds per user. So on average, that's a big chunk of time when it comes to time spent. Whereas radio is a big reach medium, but people don't spend as much time there. Using a smartphone, it's a big reach medium. People don't spend as much time there as they do on TV. This just kind of breaks it down by demo. Everything I've been showing is for the average adult. So this is time spent per the different demos for each of those different sort of buckets. Again, TV is blue, radio is purple, TV connected device usage is green, and then the rest is sort of your personal device consumption. I don't think this is surprising at all. The younger you are, the more likely you are to use smartphones and tablets and a computer. As you get older, you use a lot more television. Now, we kind of flip this and look at it from a share perspective, so you can kind of, and it's really the same story. It doesn't really tell much of a different story. If you just look at the total minutes and you share it out by percent, again, you see much less of the total percent of the time spent using media as TV for the younger viewers, and it goes up as you get older. This one's an interesting one, and I'll click in a minute to kind of help you focus on what's important. This is all of those different mediums for different race ethnicities. So you've got total adults, black adults, Hispanic adults, Asian adults, white adults. Here is what is sort of over is sort of the top groups, right? So black adults are the top for live TV, radio, internet-connected device usage, app web on a smartphone. Hispanics are high for internet-connected device usage and smartphone, Asian smartphone and tablet, and white is time-shifted TV and app web on a tablet. Here in Atlanta and in Georgia, African-American population is so important, so important.
Sense. You all provided us some information on a zip code.
Yeah.
And the zip codes that we found were our viewers were in the majority African-American communities.
Mm-hmm.
It was a stunner because
Yeah.
I don't think we were thinking that or seeing that.
And this is not something that's changed over time. We've always seen that African-American has always over-indexed when it comes to TV and certain different consumption levels. You know, that's an important story to tell to an advertiser, to somebody that you're trying to do business with, especially in Georgia. All right, so I'm going to kind of shift to kind of the interesting glitzy insights that we've just started to produce recently. Digging more into our data to kind of see what types of streaming are people doing, right? So I've been giving you some kind of general big numbers, like 1 hour spent on streaming, X percent spent on streaming. What we've done is we've built a report called the Gauge that tells you exactly what people are doing. How much of streaming is to Disney Plus, is to Amazon Prime, is to Hulu, is to YouTube, Netflix. We've got this big bucket of other streaming. 9% is actually the biggest sliver. And I'll talk about other streaming in a second. But in our most recent report for September, still a big chunk of people's TV, and this is just TV time is watching broadcast stations, 38% watching cable. By the way, this used to be like 60%. So cable has actually come down a lot. Really, broadcast has sort of held its share of the pie very well. So what I did was, for the next slide, I looked at Atlanta and Georgia compared to the national data. So here's the national data. Now it's in a bar instead of a pie. Down here, it's really similar. Cable and broadcast for Georgia and the DMA of Atlanta. Cable and broadcast are about the same. It's interesting, the streaming and other is very different. And what I did was, in that purple, I broke out what we called MVPD and VMVPD streaming. So that's actually watching linear TV, but you're streaming it, right? I'm watching WRBL on, and I don't know what you're available on, but I'm watching it on Sling TV. That's where it fits. It fits up here. It doesn't technically fit down here. So there's more broadcast viewing here that people, you know, that, again, this is like truly linear. I'm watching it on a set-top box with an over-the-air TV set. This is also linear, but I'm streaming it. So there is a certain sliver of streaming that is ad-supported linear streaming.
Do you have the numbers on that 3% in terms of a market? I mean, I know our market's pretty small, but you have it.
I can do it for like the bigger markets for Atlanta, and I can break down, for example, for what WSB's sliver is of that. We'll get there. We'll get to, that's what our goal is to be able to do this for every market.
Yeah.
You know, it's it's in our current really, really big plans, which is called Nielsen 1, which is to have one home where we can measure the streaming, we measure your device usage, we measure everything you do. You know, it's no longer piecing together all these different data sets. We're moving to the direction of being able to do it all in one house.
I have a question. So for streaming devices do you have an idea of the type of content streaming devices, the more popular content? Like we have like the new Tubies, we have like almost like the Black YouTube, we have all these different ones. Do you guys have information on the type of streaming devices?
We do. So I don't have it here today, but again, I've got, these are like, we can call these like the big ones.
Yeah.
In other, we can break down, I think we have like 30 or 40 different, there's a lot of, so Tubies in there. There's so many, I could sit here and list them all out, but not everyone. So we have come up with our own system to catalog all of the programs on all of these different streaming providers, including like a Time Warner Spectrum vMVPD streaming app, right? Or I should say MVPD streaming app, the Xfinity streaming app, the DirecTV streaming app. And so we're looking at doing it for not just the Tubies of the world, but also if you're on broadcast and you're being captured somewhere like on a streaming device. So yeah, we can do that, and we're working hard to get more and more data. But we could I think I've got a slide that's shareable that has like every one that we measure and what their numbers are.
So just out of curiosity, what makes you measurable?
We've either gone and done the work and cataloged that particular services library of content, and now our meters can figure out, oh, this is a Tubi program, or this program's coming from Netflix, or this program's coming from, again, pick your poison, Pluto, whatever it might be. Or a provider has come to us and said, hey, we want to see our data broken out, and we work with you to implement that into our methodology. Again, there's some physical work that needs to be done. There might be costs that need to happen. For the most part, though, we're trying to do it on our own because we do have the ability to catalog all of the metadata inside all these different providers.
I love this slide. It actually, to me, speaks volumes for broadcast because I see it the way I used to see cable.
Yeah.
Even though you have cable group there, market, we look at cable and we're like, you would have to buy this and this and this to get in front of who we seemingly get in front of on a constant. So
yes.
I see stuff like this and I'm like, oh, that's great.
Yeah, and again, a sliver of that 90% is technically broadcast. Again, the way we define broadcast here is like truly linear.
Yes.
Again, set that box over the air, same with cable. But then within streaming, there is full commercial ad content in there.
Yeah. So, we would be looking at businesses and saying, be in all these different spaces to really get to what we can do.
Yeah. And again, I think there's probably some utility in using this, even just the data for Georgia, the data for Atlanta, as sort of a conversation point with an advertiser or with somebody that you're trying to partner with. If it speaks to what you're trying to do, what your goals are. This is 2554. So the previous one was persons 2+. This changes things. So broadcast is still, again, it's still pretty consistent between national and Georgia and Atlanta. So is cable. Cable's a little bit bigger when you get to 2554. Streaming becomes much bigger when you get to 2554. So again, I'll do a quick cycle. Streaming and other, which is actually the majority of other, just so you know, it's like gaming and what we call AOT, which is like unmeasurable, unencoded. It might be like your programming could come under what we call AOT. We bucket whatever we don't know what it is, potentially. So that could, you might either fit there or in sort of that other streaming bucket at this point. That's where your content will be going. But yeah, 2554 tells a different story. Broadcast is a little bit smaller when it comes to 2554. You get a lot more streaming. But these slivers get bigger. So again, there's some broadcast there.
Yeah. Are you getting to a point where like 25 to 54, and maybe you're done it to where you're looking at that demo and beginning to shrink it a bit, or is it
Into smaller pieces?
the smaller pieces?
Oh yeah, I mean, so I will tell you this, we actually have an initiative, and we are pushing this through all of the major industry players. So all the head executives of all the TV groups, even the smaller ones, we are trying to advocate for changing the selling demo to 25 to 64.
Oh, yes.
Because it doesn't make sense to leave out 55 plus. And we're starting small.
Yeah.
Now, the funny thing is, advertising agencies have come to us and said, our end goal is to buy an 18 plus. And hyper target exactly who we're trying to find. We don't really want 25, 54 or 18 plus even. We want Arby's consumer. You know, we want whatever, Best Buy consumer. That's who we want. So, but we're starting the conversations and sharing data that say, look, start here. 55 to 64s are not a whole lot different from 35 to 54s. Their families, they spend a ton of money, Talk about qualitative,
Yes.
and we've used a lot of qualitative data. So, yeah, we think it makes sense to expand and to not be held to just this standard. So I think that's important. This is another one, it's funny how we label this the least surprising insight of the day. I sort of already talked about this. The younger you are, the more you stream, the less you're watching broadcasting cable. What we do though, if you go to total consumption though, total minutes, 35 to 49s and 50 to 64s are not streaming a whole lot less than these young people. That's interesting, right? Streaming, even 65 plus, 89 billion minutes of streaming happened in Q2 or in September of 21. So every age is doing all of the different things, and they're doing them at different amounts. Again, the lion's share of under 35s is streaming and other, but
Do you see the life cycle of, I don't know how much data you all have, but that's what would be in my mind, right? Is that if I'm looking at that 18 to 34, when they become, 65 plus, is that changing because they were there? Or are you seeing, okay, they become, 65 plus, and this just becomes what that group of folks do?
Right. I agree. You hit that. You go from this demo to this demo. Your life cycle typically changes, or it's already in that kind of that change period, right? What you just get married, you have a family, and then I do think you start to consume like this. I don't think you keep consuming like this.
That's becomes
Yes.
the conversation that we start having, is growing a business, actually seeing that life cycle and playing it out in terms of who their audience is, and not thinking that I need to talk to them, and then when they would come here, they say the same thing to them, or just a difference.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, we've done those types of analyses where we follow the life stage of, especially 18 to 34s. They're like the perfect example, because we actually identified 3 life stages. You're either an independent living with your parents, you're on your own without a family, or you have a family. Those are sort of the big 3 in terms of life stages. And they
independent living with your parents.
there's a lot of those. There's a lot of those.
If you're living with me, you're not independent.
Well, and that's the thing. If you're an 18 or let's just say a 22-year-old and you're still living at home, your consumption looks more like your parents' consumption does. It doesn't look like this. It actually doesn't start to look like this until you live on your own.
Okay, so that's how you define it.
Yeah. And what you have in the home, you're more likely to have traditional cable if you're an independent living with your parents, right? You're not a BBO home like a lot of these younger people who live alone are. Trying to cut the cord and save costs. So that's an interesting part of this. Another stunning revelation, if you look at consumption across the day from 5 a.m. to 4 a.m., you watch more during prime. That's not surprising at all. I really like this next one though. So and this is for persons 25-54. So I stayed with the selling demo here. Now when you flip this into a share chart, this is interesting. broadcast really pops in the morning. It's one of the top mediums in the morning, even when you think about streaming and other stuff that's going on the TV set. And then it pops again in the early evening, two really important times for you guys, right? And you're selling those morning and early evening news spots. For you're wanting to kind of find them no matter where they are, right? You want to find the audience. And, so from a streaming perspective, the most likely place to find them in prime all the way through like the overnight hours. That's kind of where the most consumption is
Do
happening.
you notice that a lot of people are watching the over the top or the streaming things like in the middle of the night hours?
Yeah, I mean, we've got the whole day here. I mean, streaming is it's close to the top anywhere from 12A to 4A. Cable's up there because they're just, again, put a cable channel on and fall asleep. I think streaming is taking over the overnight time, for sure. Cable used to be way bigger in the overnight hours. But this is great. This is a great story for broadcast, especially news covering broadcast stations. Last one, this is we did a survey, I think it was March. Yeah, we did it for the March 2021 Nielsen Total Audience Report. It's an interesting survey, and this is really my last slide. So all these things that are happening, all the changes that are happening amongst just media consumers, put more streaming, the Netflixes and the VMVPDs, all these different services that people have. What does it look like from an advertising perspective? Do people actually respond to ads in streaming content? And surprisingly, we broke it into a couple groups. So if you start on the left here, so 62% of 18 to 34s noticed a product on a streaming program that's like in the program. So not a commercial, like a can of Pepsi, a can of beer, a specific snack, right? So younger people tend to notice a little bit better than older people, although 35 to 49s notice it the most. And then the likelihood to purchase, if you see some kind of, again, product placement or whatever it might be within the streaming service. And the way that I what we see here in the data is definitely trends to I'm more likely to buy it, right? So you've got somewhat likely, very likely, and neutral. These are bigger bars here, right? So if you see some kind of product in a streaming program, you have a pretty good likelihood to buy it. Now, if we were showing linear TV, these numbers would be through the roof. And again, that's good. That's what video has always been a better service when it comes to recall and advertising. But like if you guys were to move to streaming just your programming and not putting commercials in, but maybe working with product placement, maybe working with advertisers to get their products and services integrated into your content, people do notice it. Whether they're streaming it on your website, on your station app, again, on your service.
So help me, I'm new to this. So when I think of product placement for me as a person who did content, I'm thinking of a Coke being in a sitcom. Are you talking about those commercials that come in between?
No, it's what you said. It's the first thing you said.
Okay.
Yeah, this is people noticing it while the show is playing, right? So again, we thought that was an interesting question to kind of get a feel for, especially like the Netflixes, which there's no ads at all anywhere, right? But then there's what we call AVOD, advertising video on demand, which is like a Tubi, where they do have a few ads here and there, but they're dynamic. They're inserted based on who they think is watching at the time and whatever algorithms they have, and that's a little different. So this is more about the products in the content.
It makes a lot of sense considering that demo is so that whole influence group that, they're moved by association, products being associated with a particular person let's say in a TV comedy, that person holding the can of Pepsi because they like that character.
That's
that
true.
has a huge impact on them versus, just a commercial itself, which is that traditional view of advertising.
Right.
Oh gosh, this is awesome.
And think about, like, again, for you guys, like, your anchors. Like, there are some people that watch for individuals. They don't even care about your newscast. They just like your morning news anchor or your evening news anchor. And they want to see them.
Yeah, I mean, I know where, you know, where we come out of course, being traditional in terms of how that trusted news needs to get out there. But it's our job to be creative, and even if we think in terms of how we're talking to businesses, right? Whereas the commercial themselves need not be that traditional slant on commercials. Start influencing them or encouraging them to add influencers or people who people know out there to be in their actual commercial, and perhaps that change would even give them more impact than just a regular come out, you know, mattresses $99, $99, you know, that kind of approach, which I think is definitely in the past, but having that association, which is how that speaks to me, right? It's having that association with some content, with someone.
Yeah. I like that a lot. This is an interesting topic because, again, as you see more people streaming, and any broadcaster or content provider either getting into the business or changing your strategy to kind of push more content to streaming platforms and to your website, these are the types of questions you need to know the answers to.
Yeah. Question for Netflix. Their main revenue is generating the membership program.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably, I don't know the numbers, but it's got to be up there, 80-90% of their revenue.
Who's doing the product placement? Is that on the up? Because you know they have a lot of original Netflix originals. Like now their originals are far more than they used to be. Now people wait for Netflix to come up with a new original.
And it's a good question. I mean, obviously the stuff that they purchase, the product placement was already done, right? Seinfeld, it is what it is. But the stuff that they produce, I'm sure that they think about that.
I'm sure that they have a group. In fact, I know that they have a group that thinks about that. Everything is about figuring out a way, and not to. I love what we do from a whole lot of things. The content being, you know, I just think we have such great impact. I don't want to such that, but I just think we do. But to say that is to say also is that monetizing it is very important. How do you monetize what you have? Broadcast, things are changing. Not so much harping on the fact that they're changing, but they're not changing as though there's not a target group or somebody out there. How do we know from what you all provide us how to better get a message or an opportunity in front of those folks? I think is rather the mindset that I want my team to have, the mindset that we keep trying to push, not fight against the change. It's happening. But how do we figure our way into this new space? Stuff like this helps. It helps start the conversation with advertisers because they too are in a place. It's changing for them as well. You know, all the dealers that we talk to, they're not advertising like they used to. It's different content, even from a broadcast side. As a general sales manager, I'm also thinking about the content that my station puts out there and how I can figure our way into it because it matters in so much. So to all